Have modern Pokemon cards gone too far? It is absolute insanity at the moment, the prices we're seeing for some modern PSA 10s and some modern BGS black labels. It is insane. There's cards literally printed in the last year. Their prices are rivaling vintage grails or exceeding them. What do you guys and girls think at home? Do you think that prices have just got way too out of hand for modern cards? That's what we're going to discuss in this video. I want to jump into, I suppose, a little bit of a discussion. This is a video where it'll be mostly discussion, but there will be a couple of pictures up on the screen. So, but still, by all means, pop it in the headphones while you're going for a walk or pop it on in the car while you're going for a drive, or of course, pop it on the telly while you're doing some housework at home. So, let's start off with a few things. I love modern Pokemon cards. I think the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. I think since we changed to the first look of alternate arts throughout Sun and Moon era, and even going back, XY era full arts are really starting to grow on me. Some of the megas from that era, the artwork is really cool. But moving into Sun and Moon era, the alternate arts that we started to see in Team Up and onwards are just absolutely phenomenal. Moving, of course, into Cosmic Eclipse and Hidden Fates, and then moving into Sword and Shield era, the artwork sort of died off for the first third of Sword and Shield era until, of course, we hit Battle Styles and we reintroduced alternate arts. And then from there on in, it really started to gain traction, didn't it? There was this big emphasis put on this, ethereal environment that the Pokemon went into. And, Rob Does Pokemon talks about artwork on cards a lot better than I do, so I'm certainly not going to steal his thunder. But you get the idea. As it went on, there was this real emphasis put on artwork through, of course, Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, and then we move into Scarlet and Violet era, and it literally said it in the name. Illustration Rare and Special Illustration Rare. It was literally Pokemon as an artwork. They were almost to be seen as a piece of art. And then, of course, we've moved into the Mega Evolution era, and the Illustration Rares and Special Illustration Rares have well and truly continued. But with all that in mind, I love the look of them. I think they're beautiful pieces of collectibles, and I think they're beautiful pieces of artworks. But with all that in mind, I guess I have a little bit of a controversial take on it. I think parts of the modern market have completely lost touch with reality. And the first question I guess you would ask is, when you say they've completely lost touch with reality, what do you mean by that? And here's what I mean by that. Here's just a couple of examples. And don't get me wrong, I love these cards. I just think they're going for stupid amounts of money. The first one being Pikachu EX from, of course, Ascended Heroes, the set everyone wants to get their hands on at the moment. So this Pikachu just went in auction not too long ago for over $15,000 in a BGS Black Label 10. And you might go, that is absolutely insane money. Who would possibly pay that? But there's more. The Mega Gengar EX from Ascended Heroes up here on the screen went for $85,000 at an auction in a BGS Black Label 10. That means it is the creme de la creme, and I'll get into what BGS means shortly. But what on earth is happening with those prices? And then the third example I wanted to give you, and I remember when this card was like a $30 card, is the Lovebirds from Team Up. At a PSA 10, it is nudging $20,000 in a PSA 10. And you might go, well, that's because Team Up was super short printed. That's because there's barely any PSA 10 copies of that card. No, you'd be wrong. You might think, well, that has a similar PSA count as some of the gold stars. Maybe it's around 30, maybe it's around 60, maybe it's even around 100, like some of the higher population PSA 10 gold stars. Nope. It is nudging on 2,000 copies in a PSA 10. It's not a super rare card. It's not a trophy card with super low pop, but it's going for nearly $20,000. So with all that in mind, that's my position on why I think it's a bit, and I know it's a bit controversial, it's a bit crazy. Some of those prices are just outlandish in my opinion. But why? Why are they going for that price? And here's my take on it. I think it's just as simple as this. I think there's new money coming into the hobby, and I think some of them are very cashed up. That's all it is. And when I'm talking about new money and cashed up, $85,000 for most people is insane money. It's almost life-changing money. It might be a down payment for a house. It might be that you can finally pay off your house. But for some people, 85,000 US dollars is a new watch. For some people, 85,000 US dollars is celebrating a big birthday and nights out with a friend on a yacht party. Like, I know I'm sounding absolute. 85,000 to some people is their summer getaway in Europe. You get my point. For some people, there is new money coming into this hobby, and 85,000 US dollars, although it sounds absolutely insane to everyone else, including myself, is a drop in the ocean. It gives you the opportunity to buy a very rare collectible piece of artwork that you can show off to friends. Moreover than that, the other part of the why is the BGS effect. We all know PSA 10s are, getting a little bit harder to grade. Like if a lot of, a lot of grails from vintage eras with early certification population numbers, everyone knows it was a little bit easier back then to achieve a PSA 10. In fact, there's even examples of PSA 10 vintage grails, like even first edition Charizards that have a couple of bits of white specks on them. Like maybe, one of the corners is a tiny bit dented in, or one of the sides has a decent white speck, and you think to yourself, well, that's not the creme de la creme. That shouldn't be a PSA 10. When it comes to BGS though, a BGS black label is 10 out of 10 on everything. There is no leniency. This is a perfect card. So the BGS 10 effect does have a massive effect on the price of cards. Like imagine this. Imagine if there was a BGS 10 black label first edition Charizard and there was one of them. Like name your price on that card. That would have to be a $10 million card in my opinion. So the BGS effect is another reason that these cards, and currently they have super low populations as a BGS 10. I think both of them are sitting around a population of 6 in a BGS 10, both the Pikachu and the Mega Gengar. But the other side of the coin is these have just come out. Like they're literally just hit the market. So that BGS population is well and truly going to grow. Before I jump into a few more positions on this topic, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. There'll be a link in the description to download it if you don't have it. It is the one-stop shop for all your investing and collecting needs. You can put all your singles, all your sealed, English, Japanese in there. The big one for me though, from an investing standpoint, is you can look at so much data, particularly if you're a pro user. You can go into set analytics for any English and Japanese set. You can filter by the top tiers. So you can filter by, of course, what are the top hits inside a set. You can check out PSA population, BGS population. You can see the trend of how sets are growing. You can see things like total set value. All this data to me is so important as an investor. So if you don't have it, by all means, jump on board the Collector app. It'll hopefully change your investing journey a little bit. So back onto topic. Here's the difference, in my opinion, between vintage and modern. Vintage has true rarity. There are positions of certain cards that have PSA 10 populations so low that is rarely going to change because there's so little of that sealed product left to be open, and so, therefore so small chances of cards being sent off and achieving another PSA 10 that they're locked in stone as a piece of history and artwork. Modern, on the other hand, is mass opened, mass graded, and moreover than that, it's mass preserved. It's not getting opened and traded in the schoolyard and thrown about. If there's a nice card that gets pulled out, it's sleeved, top loaded, sent off for grading. And if it's not sent off for grading, it's preserved. Like there's a massive, massive difference between modern and vintage there. Now the other why, this is the final why I think that the market's gone a little bit out of touch with some of these modern cards achieving ridiculous prices, is the whole idea behind FOMO and social media. Wherever you look, including myself sometimes, when you look at YouTubers, when you log onto Instagram, when you go onto Reddit, there's so many people pumping up Pokemon cards that's saying that it's your ticket or your gateway to retirement, and that is having a big effect, in my opinion, on some of these prices. But I think everyone should be warned at, if you've gone out and spent 85 grand on that Gengar, its population's going to grow. And unless the demand grows equal to that, its price is going to fall. Here's a funny story. I remember back at the start of Sword and Shield era when sets like Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage came out, and we had Rainbow Pikachu, and we also had the Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze. They were the two chase cards, really, for the first 4 sets or 5 sets of Sword and Shield era, because Rebel Clash had nothing and Sword and Shield base had nothing. And Charizard VMAX, its PSA population was growing rapidly, as was Pikachu VMAX, the Rainbow Chonkachu as people called it. Its PSA population was growing rapidly, but in the early days, when PSA population was sitting around 500 or 1,000 or even up to 2,000, these cards were fetching insane prices, and everyone was having this same conversation saying they're way overpriced. Like, they're going to come back down to earth as PSA population increases. And the other side of the fence was saying, no, they won't. The money coming into Pokemon at the moment is absolutely insane. They're not going to go down. And what was the result in the end? You know, the people on this side of the fence saying, hold on, you know, this is artificially inflated due to COVID and insane growth rates in PSA 10 populations. They just can't hold on. They were the people in the end that were right. So here's my take on it all. I think true rarity will always win. So vintage, grails, Wizards of the Coast era, and trophy cards will always be collectible, particularly for people of my vintage. As we get older and get more expendable income, they will just continue to grow. Modern, on the other hand, I do urge everyone to be a little bit cautious. However, I do think Modern has changed forever. I don't think we're going to see super low PSA 10 prices of Modern cards. I think that area has changed. It's become almost like a little bit of a status symbol if you've got yourself a cool Modern PSA 10 Grail or a BGS Black Label. It's almost like I mentioned before, going out and buying a watch. It's that little status symbol. I do think the Modern landscape has changed forever, but I do urge people to be a little bit cautious with some of these insane PSA 10 prices. You got to remember, singles are very, very volatile. The thing about sealed, if you buy them at its absolute cheapest, and yes, sometimes it's hard to know what its absolute cheapest is, but if you buy sealed at launch, you know, over the next 10 years, what are your odds that that product's going to go down? It is next to none. You buy a BGS 10 Black Label Mega Gengar EX from Ascended Heroes for $85,000, ask yourself the same question. What are the odds of that going down? I would be more than certain that it will. So there's your answer and there's my take on it. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz, and I'll catch everyone next time.